CM Punk, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins is the main event of WrestleMania Night 1. We've just confirmed that on the latest episode of SmackDown. Obviously, this has extra story ramifications and extra CM Punk ramifications, because CM Punk just did it. Because, of course, if you've been watching wrestling for a long time, you know that I suppose one of the story arcs, both for the real-life CM Punk and the fictional CM Punk, within the world of the wrestling that is that he always wanted to do this, and now we have taken it, and we've made it part of the narrative. We did the contract signing. Roman Reigns, I thought, had his best time on the mic in ages, because he was just ad-libbing and loving the fact this London crowd was like, we love you, Roman, you're the best. And Paul Heyman had a sing-song too. Seth Rollins was really mad. He's like, Roman, you're so annoying, man. You really think about yourself when CM Punk did come out. And yes, of course, he signs the deal. He looks at clause 14.7 or whatever it was, and it does turn out that he will be main eventing WrestleMania. Now, I've just realized, I think I forgot to say this on Ups and Downs. Check it out on What Culture Wrestling for a full recap of the show. Seth Rollins, obviously, hates CM Punk so much. How did I forget this? This is why sometimes you need to get sleep. But he hates him so much, he doesn't even want to be a part of the WrestleMania main event because he doesn't think CM Punk deserves it. Now, I think that's great from a character point of view. I don't want to say it's like as in-depth as some movies you watched, but it gives these people, they're not two-dimensional. Do you know what I mean? So, of course, you should be like, well, Seth Rollins, you're main eventing WrestleMania. But that would be a boring way to do it. It's much more fun for Seth to be like, yes, I get that, but I am willing to sacrifice my own warm and fuzzy feelings in my tum-tum in order to push this other guy that I hate out the way. Then you got, well, Roman is interesting because Roman doesn't really care about any of this. Even he was like, oh boy, welcome to the big leagues. But what really gets under his skin is he doesn't know what's going on with Paul Heyman. It wasn't said explicitly, but my takeaway from it, which usually means I am wrong, is that Roman thought giving the main event to CM Punk would be the Paul Heyman favor, and then Punk stands up and goes, no, bruh, that ain't the Paul Heyman favor, and then all of a sudden SmackDown ends, and you have a little bit more animosity. Now, as I've said on most of these things, especially last week too, it's not on fire as much as I would have expected. A lot of people feel that way about Cody Rhodes versus John Cena too. It's a discussion we should have. But I also think we've got 3 weeks to go, and we are kind of building in these story beats. Now, you could argue that you could have saved this as the big main event or the big Raw before WrestleMania to say, oh, the main event is going to be you three guys, because that way we would have a few more weeks to talk about why CM Punk wanted this, to talk about maybe the stuff with The Miz, to talk about why he walked out in 2014. But the flip side of that is maybe CM Punk doesn't want to talk about it. You just don't know. I don't know what him and Triple H agreed on, but I do think the gravitas of the match justifies this position. I do think, again, there's another chat to be had about the Royal Rumble winners main eventing WrestleMania, because Charlotte Flair and Jey Uso now are not. I think there's something else you can throw in there about Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky. Or that story has gone a bit crazy too, as we have seen on Raw. But it's going to be horses for courses, right? And I don't think there's any point at the moment. Listen, the counterpoint to what I've just said is that's probably why we shouldn't have announced it yet. We should have given it a couple of weeks to see which one is going to fall where. But I do believe the CM Punk main eventing WrestleMania story is going to be something we focus on coming out of WrestleMania and going into WrestleMania, which is probably why WWE wanted to announce it right now. And I do think it's really cool. As you know, if you watch any of my content, I am big into thinking about the real people involved here. So Phil Brooks, if we want to call him that. And it's awesome for him. And as soon as I say it, people go, oh, what about when he did this? And what about when he did that? I don't know the man. We all know about the controversies. We all know about the falling out of AEW. But you can't beat him with that stick forever if we actually want to have a proper discussion about what we're watching on SmackDown right now. It would get boring, and you'd have to do it with everybody. You'd have to continually go back through everybody's past. You can do that. Of course you can. You're allowed to. I just find it a bit dull after a while because, again, we know. So if we focus on sort of the overall arc and what CM Punk wanted, was never going to be someone that succeeded in WWE, according to, I don't know, insiders or whatever you want to say, back in 2005, wherever the hell he was smashing it in Ring of Honor. Even when he arrived in the developmental system, oh, he'll never get on main roster television. And of course, he kept doing it. He keeps doing it. He did open the doors for other performers like him. He wins a world championship, leaves WWE amidst a bunch of other problems on both sides. One of the biggest regrets then being argued that he never will main event WrestleMania. Here we are in 2025, which is 11 years after he walked out. I think that's correct. And he's doing it. I think that's inspirational. I think that's cool. I've always said this on any video where it does come up. That's why I think it's badass he did the UFC thing. Who cares he got his ass kicked twice? I would rather get into a UFC cage, if that was my dream, and get my ass kicked twice and be belittled for it than be a 75-year-old man going, oh man, why didn't I get in the UFC cage? One of the reasons I went out there to become a professional wrestler, and believe you me, I got a lot of belittling, which is your right, but I stuck with it because I was like, no man, I want to see it through to whatever the end goal is going to be, and I should have made sure I had it there to make a proper poetic basic point. At the moment, I am your Progress Proteus People's Champion, which is essentially, if you don't know, Progress is a massive UK promotion over here. And I guess you could compare that to the WWE's Intercontinental Championship. Or at least that's how I see it in my nerd brain. And that's why I think it's so cool to see people like CM Punk do this. It just goes to show you never know. The phrase never say never has never been more apropos when it comes to pro wrestling, but it does make this cool. Again, I thought Roman Reigns had a great performance, and Seth Rollins is the anchor in many ways to this feud, because he's doing a Drew McIntyre. He's the truth teller. He's like, excuse me, have we all forgotten about what this guy has done? And then Roman doesn't seem to care because he's more worried about his personal relationship. So the potential is all there. I do think it will explode. I think the match of the night will be absolutely out of this world, because I think the ramifications of it, once again, are probably going to extend narratives all the way to SummerSlam. You could even do, like I said on the video the other day, and I'm seeing it on the video tomorrow, John Cena versus CM Punk for that WWE title, if this goes that way. You could do John Cena versus Seth Rollins, you could do John Cena versus Roman Reigns. They all have a certain history there. But yes, I do admit some people said, I don't know, man, there was just something lacking to it. I know where you're coming from. I do. But again, we have three massive stars here as the crowd did react to them. So I think it's going to be okay. And no, I don't have a problem with it main eventing night one at the moment. Doesn't mean I wouldn't want to see other people in that position, but I'm also like not to get angry about it. So a lot of anger. Social media, but then again, it is social media. But also I've completed social media because I watch so much Key and Peele on my TikTok. Now all I get on TikTok is Key and Peele videos. So I'll probably just retire and never go back on it again. CM Punk did get super emotional about this as well. Like he had tears in his eyes. And I'm sure it did mean something to him. Because again, even though he had done interviews where he'd said he's not as fussed about it now because he's grown up and he's matured, you never lose those feelings deep down in your tootsie toes. And look, Paul Heyman is going to be a massive entity in all of this. You even have some people fantasy booking that he goes with Seth Rollins. I wouldn't do that. I think it's a bit Vince Russo. But listen, if you can justify it and you have a cool story, I'll always get on board. Because you know my boring phrase. We have so much wrestling, it never ends. It goes on and on and on. And we have so many companies right now. You have to have a little bit of fun with it. And sometimes you do just have to throw stuff at the wall to see if it's going to stick. And if it doesn't, who cares? Like last week, perfect example, the Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton face-off. When you draw a line down the screen and you're going to be on the left and you're going to be in the right. Charlotte Flair cooked her as far as I'm concerned. Some people like doom and gloom. Oh, it's the end. We have to jump off the boat. No, WWE seemingly sat down with Tiffany and said, right, we're going to respond to this. She cut a decent promo where she's like, all right, fine, Charlotte, I'll take your own words and use it against you. I beat you and I beat a legend. You beat me and you beat a rookie who apparently is absolute garbage. Brilliant. Awesome. So now she can learn from this. She can be experienced. I bet the next time she does do a weird line down the middle interview, Tiffany Stratton will be even better. Every time I say this, people go nuts. And please go nuts. Blow up that comment section. But it's why it's just doubled down my thinking that I think Charlotte Flair should win. Because then Tiffany Stratton is going to learn more and she gets to work with Charlotte more. And we can do more of these promos. If Tiffany Stratton just wins, that's the end of it. I don't think anybody benefits from that, especially given what happened 7 days ago. I think we can. That's a risk that we can take. I think if anything, it will probably get more sympathy for Tiffany Stratton as long as we got the finish right. That's WWE's job. I don't think it shows, oh my gosh, Charlotte Flair wins everything. Sometimes you have to look at it from a third-party perspective, and to me, that isn't 2 + 2 = potato. It's just the correct way to do it. I mean, if Tiffany Stratton does win, still not going to make a difference, but I think we should be thinking about the long game here, and there are still parts of Tiffany Stratton's game. I don't even want to say that she needs to improve. She just has to be in the business for longer. That's perfectly acceptable, and it's perfectly normal, really, especially as a babyface. She's like, well, fresh, stupid word to use, but she's like a rookie in terms of being a babyface, and it kind of happened organically. It's not like her character's changed or anything, so I'm not worried about it at all. And again, I thought that was very good. Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly, I love that, because Pretty Deadly obviously are from over here, they're super good guys. They were never going to win, and it was more of a, I wouldn't even call it a showcase match, an exhibition bout. I mean, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins are always going to get the victory. Do not know what we're doing at WrestleMania, because if it is the big tag team match, there are certain teams that we have in this big palaver that I don't even think you can justify being in it. Not that it stopped WWE before, but it was nice, man. And sometimes nice and nice. And when it comes to Elton Prince and Kit Wilson, they made it. They did it. They just had a tag team title match in front of what, 15, 18,000 people at the O2, whatever the flub it was. That's dreamlike stuff. Once again, this is the crutch of what I'm talking to you today. This is the centerpiece. It's all about living your dreams and believing in yourself. But it is badass. And I just don't think we talk about it enough. And you don't have to worry about the sentiment of an individual that just so happens to be a professional wrestler. But I like to, because I am on a similar journey. And even if I didn't make it, seeing other people do it just goes to show there's always that peak of hope. But they lost. So we'll have to see what we're going to do with them. Cody Rhodes also kind of fell into that category. I mean, he was so over. And that's all that really matters. The dude is Teflon. Teflon right now. But it was a bit like, I'd love to talk to John Cena, but he's not here. But he'll be here on Monday, so we're just going to hit pause. So instead, I think we look past WrestleMania, which I'm always a fan of. We kind of just talked about it. But Randy Orton interrupts and just makes Cody Rhodes out to be the greatest person that's ever walked in the world, which was very, very nice. But says, I want a 15th championship run, so I'm going to have to beat you at some point. When Drew comes out and is like, listen, I was the firstborn and only person from the UK to be the WWE champion, so I'm first in line. Randy, you're broken inside because you're so old and battered down. And they had a match later too, which I wasn't expecting. And don't forget, Drew McIntyre won that. It's all going to come full circle. I think both those guys may go after Cody Rhodes, but is he going to be the WWE champion? We don't know. But throwing 3 stars of that level into the opening segment, it's never going to go wrong. Really enjoyed Drew and Randy. That happened later in the evening. I even tweeted this out, cheap plug simonmillermedia316 on social media. I was like, there's no way this is ending clean. No way. It's just, there's more chance of hair sprouting out of my stupid head, but it still worked. It was effective, if not simple. I mean, I think WWE has fallen into a territory of maybe too many run-ins and too many shenanigan finishes and too many distractions. Or maybe it's always been there and sometimes it smacks you in the face a little bit harder. But Kevin Owens walks out because Randy Orton is a professional wrestler. He does not know what to do. Just freezes like, am I in a match? We're not in a match. I don't know what I'm doing right here. He obviously gets smacked with a Claymore. 1, 2, 3. He's going to be thrown through Alan the announce table, and then obviously he switches it. He's going to punk Kevin Owens in the head. Kevin Owens runs off, and yes, we're going to do all of that at WrestleMania. It'll be a great match. They are top 2 professional wrestlers. I've got those words the wrong way round. And I've talked to you about Kevin Owens before. Number 3 on my all-time list. He just is. And he doubled down on that this week because he did an interview where he talked about how he felt about Cody Rhodes' pyro budget and how he's pushing to have a Sid-type pyro that just says balls. This is the best human ever. And Randy Orton is goated too. Don't even pretend. Some people like to come up with these mad stats and reasons why Randy Orton isn't one of the best of all time. I'm like, yes, I know lots of people that last 20 plus years in a career and all the peers are like, oh my gosh, that guy's so good. But it turns out they're pants. Happens all the time. Once again, doesn't mean you have to like him. I'm just saying the evidence is there, and sometimes we do have to throw it into a pot. Really would like Chelsea Green, it's not her fault at all, to have a proper feud for the US Championship, her Women's US Championship. Why Zelina Vega got involved, I don't know. She lost to Piper Niven. This was a Mortal Kombat like tower thing that you do, and you have to get all the way up to Goro. Piper Niven was number 1 and Zelina Vega failed. She doesn't get to Alba Fire or Chelsea Green, but somehow she will. I did like the fact that the secret Hervis, I struggled to say that, is Alba Fire and Piper Niven, and they won. Now, they beat Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, who have just fallen into the abyss recently, so it's nice they were able to get back on the show, but once again, there was a lack of jeopardy that kind of ran throughout SmackDown. It was never going to happen. Of course, Chelsea Green cast distraction. If we do somehow now get to Zelina Vega versus Chelsea Green, especially because the secret Hervis absolutely whooped the ass of Zelina once again, this is what I mean. I would love if we took a little bit of the Cody Rhodes and the John Cena or the other match that we talked about and stretched this out a little bit. It feels very week to week at the moment, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but Chelsea Green is so over, even though she's not heel, she gets cheered, but she still acts heelish. I would just like more of it, to be honest. I think maybe Naomi is more representative of that, because she did her big reveal video, whatever you want to call it, as she continues to be inspired by Owen Hart from 1998, which is a damn fine choice. And she's like, I've always been here. I'm always trying to help each other out. You know, treat others as you want to be treated. Then Jade walks in and Bianca Belair's trying to help her. And I got pushed to the side once again, which has kind of happened to Naomi in real life. So now it's like, you know, I'm putting myself first. And Jade Cargill, you got in my way because I'm a bad guy now. I whipped your ass. I thought this was so effective that Naomi should be a world champion. Doesn't have to be super soon. She's probably going to lose to Jade Cargill. So again, we have to be really creative and smart with that finish. But within the next 6 months, I think Naomi should at least be heading in that direction to justify the heel turn and back up this great work she's doing. That was really, really good. We are worryingly walking a tightrope where I think I support Naomi in this feud, which makes no sense. She tried to kill Jake Cargill in a car, but that's why you do have to be really careful when you have a heel who just has the facts. You know, they do sound like receipts to me. But then again, a good person wouldn't throw somebody through a vehicle. Although Damian Priest did choke slam Drew McIntyre through a car. So good. I love it. Some people are getting on this feud. I think they're doing such a good job. Drew McIntyre was going to go for a beer with Lewis Capaldi, the singer. Why wouldn't you do that? And then he's like, haha, Damian's not here. Damian Priest turns up at the door and he whooped this guy. Let's not forget, of course, it's not real glass. I know that's probably the reference they were making. I don't care. I talked about it on ups and downs. I'm so bored of it. I've got other problems in my life. But even fake glass on a car. Do you think Drew landed and was like, oh man, that feels like a pillow? No, it would have really hurt. I think this could lead to some kind of a stipulation match. We don't actually have that many one-on-one matches, or so it would seem. Feels like WrestleMania 41 is going to be multi-person matches. So if we do attach a stipulation to this, and both guys are leaning into their history, which does stretch back all the way to WrestleMania 40, man, I don't understand the problem here. Damian Priest had a banger 2024 and became a massively over babyface that used that base of the Judgment Day to just climb and climb and climb. Drew McIntyre did the same on the other end of things, both in a very similar position in the sense they both had two big feuds. Damian wasn't able to defeat Gunther and Drew wasn't able to properly defeat CM Punk, and now they've come together. This is the kind of stuff we would have died for like 5 years ago. So this one, I'm not having it. You're wrong. I don't mean that at all, but you are. I am actually really excited about this. And not everything can be the main event. And I think if we find the right position for this and we carry on the sort of cool momentum they do have, they can hit a home run. I compare it to The Undertaker and Batista from 24, 25, 26. I don't know. But everyone felt the same. Oh, I don't want to see that. And they had such a good match. We all went, oh man, that was secretly really, really good. And it's what most people were talking about after the fact. I can't remember whether that's because the main event didn't live up to expectations, but it can happen. I think we've forgotten how good these people are and how good they've become over the last 18 months. So I'm supporting it. I'm down with it, and I wanted to do super duper well. I wasn't the biggest fan of everything that we did do. I should have tied this in a minute ago. We've kind of gone the wrong direction here. We were talking about going crazy, though, because I don't mind Naomi coming and beating up Meechin and B-Fab. I don't. Especially because it ties into the Jade Cargill stuff as she made the save, essentially. But I kind of feel like Charlotte Flair should have then just walked out and beat Meechin. That's nothing to do with Meechin. She had the perfect out here. Maybe Naomi should have done a bigger number of her and not B-Fab. But all of a sudden doing a 50-50 match between Charlotte Flair and Meechin, I was like, well, that's kind of mugged Naomi off because she was trying to cause chaos here. And Charlotte should be the kind of character that takes advantage. And Tiffany Stratton could have used that too. Like, look at you, despicable non-queen. I can't believe you're doing that. And listen, I want Meechin to be on WrestleMania, but there are no hints at the moment on television that she is. We know Charlotte's in a big match. We know Naomi's in a big match. So sometimes, to use a John Cena phrase, it's not your night, kid. I would have just tried to push those two. And I think what doubled it for me is then we did exactly the same thing with Jimmy Uso versus The Miz. Again, don't understand all the hate towards The Miz. He's brilliant all-timer. Jimmy Uso just knows what he's doing. I think I'd probably move Carmella Hayes away from The Miz, but again, that didn't really feature on this evening. But given that Jimmy Uso has his big match with Gunther on Monday, I would have had Jimmy Uso absolutely go crazy on The Miz here. The Miz can take it. Again, he's another guy that can do whatever you want now. He's put his time in. And then when Gunther, I would assume, murders Jimmy Uso on Raw, it's going to make Gunther feel like a big deal. And now whatever he does, you're like, all right, okay, well, Jimmy Uso just had like a back and forth match with The Miz. So we don't have that fire. I describe it on Ups and Downs like a roller coaster of ups and downs. Who knows more about ups and downs than me? And you needed Jimmy Uso to be right at the top of that roller coaster before Gunther brings him down. And instead it's like a kiddie ride. It's just like right in the middle. Like, it's not a problem. It's not a big deal. And I think ultimately Gunther absolutely destroying Jimmy will help Jay find his fire, which is now the story. But those two matches to me felt the same. And I think, listen, this is my bugbear. I know, Simon, get your bee out of your bonnet. I think it just comes back to the whole SmackDown being 3 hours. SmackDown doesn't need to be 3 hours. SmackDown was awesome at 2 hours. They hit home runs all of the time. It doesn't feel to me like we're getting more people on the show. It just feels to me like we're stretching out matches that don't need to be stretched out. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. That's just how I feel deep down in my tum-tum. Like I say, this now sounds like I didn't enjoy the show. I did. Atmosphere, awesome. Some of the stories we told, awesome. I'm pumped for Punk, Roman, and Seth, even though I think there's more coming. The Cody Randy teases, the Cody Drew teases, those three having a match teases. Like, there are some really, really cool stuff. Haven't even talked about Braun Strowman versus LA Knight. That's probably because I kind of felt the same. You just knew Jacob Fatu was going to interfere, and he should have interfered, right? And now he's going to be in that US title match, and he should win. And then she had a feud with Solo Sikoa, and we should make the Bloodline 3.0, so then you can do 3-on-3 matches with Solo leading Tamara and somebody else, and obviously Jacob probably leading a team of Bronson Reed and Jeff Cobb, because it sounds like he signed from New Japan. That would be my guess. We just now had a bunch of US title matches like DQ, no finish, DQ, no finish, and it's just the boy who cried wolf. Sometimes it gets a little bit like, oh, we couldn't have done something a little bit more creative, but the fans love Jacob Fatu, so kind of took the wins out of the sails a little bit, but I also think I'm being a bit harsh. And actually, one of my favourite announcements was this Hall of Fame thing that we're now doing iconic moments, or basically putting matches into the Hall of Fame. The first being my favourite match of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania 13. Watch it today and make sure you get the build up to with the promos. They're both going to be the Hall of Fame. Probably means Steve Austin could be at WrestleMania, but again, I've talked about that on a different video. I've given you my nerd booking, and I'll probably do it again sometimes because I can't help myself. But I would love more of that. It's a great way to get legends back on the show, and it's a great way to highlight things that we should talk about. Like, obviously, the performers are the most important thing, but without what they do and without that context, maybe some people, especially as we move forward into life will forget why they were so important. So that's excellent. That's a really, really cool thing to put in there. And who doesn't want to see Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin? Probably forgotten something, I always do. But again, my videos on this channel are meant to be more of a casual chat, which is now, I would encourage you to go into the comments below and let me know, Simon, you were right here. Simon, you were wrong here. Simon, you're an absolute goober and I want to come and slap you round the face. Please don't do that. I will have to challenge you on Raw, as Gunther taught us a few days ago. Also, like the video, share the video, subscribe, click that notification bell, click the video on the screen, which is me going through these crazy CM Punk plans that I came up with, even though I'm not affiliated with WWE, but I am an absolutely insane person. GorillaMind.com/Simon. You just go to time and get 10% off. Again, I use these fitness supplements. I believe these fitness supplements work, otherwise I wouldn't promote them to you. And they have just released Nitric 2.0, which is their brand new non-stim pre-workout. This genuinely and literally is my favorite supplement in the world. I'm not a big caffeine guy, although of course I have it from time to time, and caffeinated beverages will give you more of a boost. But when you don't want to have it, I don't think there's a better supplement on the market. You don't have to believe me, I'm just telling you, it ships worldwide. Please do come say hello on Simon316 on all social media. Get a cameo at Simon Miller. Go see my TikTok at Simon J. Miller. And again, ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller for t-shirts and SimonMiller.BigCartel.com. And if you're coming to Progress tomorrow on the 30th of March, I am taking on Gene Money, defending my Proteus belt in a Doghouse Rules match. Do I know what that is? Not really, but I am a fighting champion. So we'll do it together, my friends, and I will see you soon.